All right, guys, welcome back to another video. If you guys don't mind, before watching this, if you can pause the video and leave a like and subscribe, that would help a lot because this channel's growing pretty quickly and it's honestly becoming a lot of fun. So I think I'm gonna keep doing it, even though, like I said, it's only been a week and there's already 1,000 of you guys, so I can't believe it. All right, so I got this video, came across my feed. It's by Flight Follower, so go ahead and leave them a like and subscribe. They post a lot of good stuff. But it's basically about a female student pilot. It sounds like this is either her first solo or she's like pretty much brand new. I was trying to get some details about whether or not she was actually a solo pilot, but I didn't really seem to find anything. People are just kind of thinking that she might be a student pilot, solo, like her first solo. But either way, it's like we'll break this video down. Okay, so let's go ahead and just start watching it. I also have ForeFlight open, so we can kind of compare the chart with this.
November 5 Romeo Alpha, fly heading to 090, make a straight in runway 32, wind 360, aggressive wind.
Okay, so it looks like we have traffic that is coming in straight in for runway 32. All right, so yeah, there's traffic out here right now. So I'm painting the picture for you guys. And if you guys have no idea what any of this stuff is, like you're not a pilot but you're just interested, that's why I do these breakdowns, because I know that if you're a pilot, like you obviously know which one's which. But this is runway 32, it looks like, and that looks like it's 14. Okay, and I also have ForeFlight open, so we can double check. Yeah, so runway 32 and 14. So there's traffic coming in right here on final. It sounds like a 5-mile final.
Fly heading to Romeo Alpha, 7 miles to southwest.
7.
November 5 Romeo Alpha, fly heading to 090, make a straight in runway 32, wind 360, aggressive wind 0305, altimeter 3014, report 5 miles straight in.
Okay, so 7 miles. That guy's 7 miles out, and the ATC controller just said when you're about right. Well, it'd be way out here. When you're 5 miles out, report straight in.
32, report 5 miles. And number 609, extend your downwind.
Okay, so we don't really know where this student pilot is because now she comes into play. She's somewhere over here on a right downwind for runway 32. So she's on the left side of this. We don't know if she's here. We don't know if she's here, but I'm assuming if he's saying extend your left downwind, it's because he's making space for this traffic that's coming in. So she's probably like down here. So this first command, extend your left downwind, he just wants her to keep going straight like this.
And number 609, actually make a left 360, report back on downwind.
Okay, now he says make a left 360. So if we assume that she's somewhere over here, all he wants her to do, instead of extending out this downwind and putting her on like a 5-mile downwind, and you know, what he wants her to do is just make a left 360 in here. So that's not hard, just standard rate turn, left 360, really not that big of a deal. Okay, I've had this happen to me at Boise a few times, and in the comments, you know, I saw some people talking about how they were sick of this happening, how they don't like left 360s, and I don't know, I've had that happen to me so many times at Boise in Class Charlie Airspace, like it's really not that big of a deal. For me, at least, I don't know. It was actually kind of cool because I got to do a left 360 over the Albertsons field during a football game once, so that was kind of cool.
Number 609, make a left 360, report back on downwind.
Make a left 360, report back on downwind at 309.
And number 409, number 609, where are you going?
I'm sorry, I got the call about the airport. 309.
Number 609, make a 180 and enter the right downwind for runway 32.
So he says make a 180. So I was trying to, and you guys let me know where you think that this person is orientated. Because if he's saying making a 180, where are you pointed at this point?
180 and 9. Where are you going?
I'm sorry, I got the call about the airport. 309.
Number 609, make a 180.
So it sounds like maybe she's heading back in this opposite direction now, and he wants her to come back this way. or maybe she's just going straight up this way and continue. Either way, she's incredibly confused. I tried to pull up the ADS-B data on this, but I couldn't find it because I was really curious as to see what happened. But either way, she's way off course right now, okay? So he wanted her to do the downwind. Then he's like, actually change that. Let's do a left 360, okay? Now she's just super confused.
And enter the right downwind for runway 32.
Yeah, so I'm assuming she's like up here somewhere.
Right turn for that.
Maybe up here, right turn.
Number 609, I need you to turn.
Or maybe she's in down here and he wants her to go back. I don't know.
Number 609, turn left.
So this is getting really, really confusing really quick because of whatever this student is doing. It also probably doesn't help that this ATC controller is clearly frustrated, and I remember the feeling of being a student pilot and hearing like frustrated tones in the ATC's voices, and it just kind of, it's a little distracting in my opinion. So I'm not saying that this ATC, this air traffic controller is in the wrong. I'm just saying this is another variable that you put on a student pilot that stresses the student out. And should the student handle this without it affecting her? Absolutely, 100%. But we have to accept, the reality here that some people get stressed out when they hear people getting angry at them, especially when they're doing something like a first solo, okay? But that's not excusing her being confused, because she should definitely be aware of where she is before this even happened.
Number 609, turn left.
Also, I don't know. I'm not ATC, but last time I checked, turn left wasn't a heading. So maybe he's just realizing that this, student pilot is really confused. And instead of, I bet you it's because if he said like, turn left, turn 40 degrees left, or turn 30 degrees left, or turn left heading 090, it would confuse her more. So maybe this is actually like, maybe he's actually saying if I just tell her to turn left, it's easier, which that actually makes sense. Also, if you're in air traffic control, let me know what you think's going on here. Okay, so this is when things start falling apart here. This is when the student pilot essentially just starts having a breakdown mid-flight. So I do understand her frustration. However, when you have moments like these, when you're flying and you get confused or disorientated or stressed out, you really have to just pause and take a deep breath and just be like, all right, where am I? I am super confused right now. And just pause, because if you let your emotions snowball like this, things only get worse and you make more and more and more mistakes. So I would have advised this student, if I was in the right seat and I saw her having this breakdown, or if I was her in hindsight, whatever, I just ask ATC for help. Really just be as honest as possible and be like, guys, look, I'm really confused right now. I'm disorientated, I'm nervous, I'm scared. Can you please just tell me what heading to fly, or can you give me vectors, something like that? Best case scenario, just be honest with ATC, okay? Because right now she's not saying anything. Well, she has a hot mic now. So hot mic means she's holding down the microphone, probably because she's death gripping the yoke, right? And she's really nervous. And now she's transmitting to everyone on that frequency, which is like a big problem, because one, she's stepping over other people, so those people can't transmit. And also, you'll see why.
I thought I was also down with the people. I really don't know what to do. I don't fucking know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
So it's kind of weird, and I'm wondering what's going on with her flight instructor. I'm wondering what the dynamic is between her and her flight instructor, because if your main concern is not getting on the correct leg and not flying the airplane and not doing this, if your main concern is getting yelled at by your flight instructor, that sounds like it's a toxic relationship. I can tell you right now that if my student did something like this, the last thing they would be worried about is me yelling at them. But this is the first thing she's worried about, which is concerning to me.
Oh, that's fine. I'm like, what?
About big sale down, so I think great case.
I don't know what the fuck to do.
So at this point, she's just she's in full blown panic mode. I call this the lizard brain, where it's just like your frontal lobe just turns off and you're in survival mode, and all rationale goes out the window, and you're just kind of locked in the moment, and you can't make decisions. You don't know what to do. Things get really difficult. You kind of get time dilation, and adrenaline just spikes. And this is like a bad situation, honestly. Luckily, I mean, the weather is probably decent. You know, the winds were pretty calm, so she didn't have that to consider. But you could just see how this got worse and worse over time.
Freaking out, man. I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. What the fuck do you mean by that? And then I was like, not.
So I'm assuming she's like, make a 360. What do you mean by that? Even if you have never done this before, you're in a downwind, and you know, if I got this and I was a student and somebody told me to do a left 360, just do a left 360. I'm confused. Like, I don't know. Maybe I think she's just overthinking that. And I think what really started to spiral her is that, one, it's never happened to her before. And when you're a student pilot, when you're a pilot in general, things are going to happen that you've never had to deal with before. But that's when critical thinking comes into play. And you're like, well, this ATC controller wants me to do a left 360. So I guess I'll do a left 360. But I think she got caught off guard because she's never done that before. She was probably already paranoid that she was on the wrong leg or the wrong downwind or something like that. And then I bet you in her brain, she's like, oh crap, they're vectoring me, or they're making me do a left 360. Like, I must have been in the wrong place. And then she just goes down this negative path where she thought she was wrong the entire time, or maybe not.
I'm like, not. I'm so fucking thrown off. And I'm gonna get fucking screamed at.
And she keeps getting worried about getting screamed at. I get it. As a student pilot, you're worried about making mistakes and embarrassing yourself. But I'm like, why are you so worried about your instructor yelling at you?
God, please help me. Please, God, help me. Please, please, God, help me.
At this point, ATC comes on.
Just exit the airspace, so it's a fellow student who's kind of panicking, so we're trying to get in contact with her. She's just circling right now. Just extend to you, Roger. If you could just maybe reach her, you can make a right turn to the left. 155 Romeo Alpha on 3 mile final to 32. Or 155 Romeo Alpha, first time, make a right turn to the east immediately.
Okay, so he says make a right turn to the east immediately. So he's like down here. Okay. And then he says make a right turn to the east. So he's on a what? It's like 2 mile final, something like that. So he's like right out here. And then he says just make a right turn to the east. So I'm assuming she actually probably went over here, and she's operating in this quadrant now. So she's on the opposite side of the downwind. Okay, I'm assuming. I actually have no idea. But he said that she was circling. She was just doing circles. She was probably doing circles out here, or somewhere over here is my guess. But all right, so what's the lesson to be learned from this? One, if you're confused, ask for help from ATC. That's what they're there for. I get it. Sometimes it's annoying for them. They're frustrated. They're overwhelmed. They'll give you an attitude, but often they just want to help you. And then I noticed a little advantage here. It's kind of like a cheat code, and I'm not saying to do this every time, but I generally notice that in class like Delta Airspace. What kind of airspace is this actually? Okay, so like in class Deltas and Charlies, if you are, so this is a class Delta. So in a class Delta airspace, I tell my students, when you're going in for your first solo and you do your first radio call, say on Twin Falls traffic, Skyhawk 956 to Quebec, student pilot coming in for 3 touch and goes. The moment you tell them that you're a student pilot, they kind of ease up a little bit and they actually want to help you, at least in Twin Falls. Those guys are super nice. I can't say the same for if you were to do that in Boise or like LA or something, right? That's probably not going to happen as frequently. But my point is tell them that you're a student pilot, ask for help, and take a deep breath and calm down. I am worried about the relationship between her and her instructor because I'm either she's really sensitive or something, or this instructor is like prone to yelling at her, which should never happen. I have really, at this point, I've never had to yell at a student. I've been stern, but I've never had to yell at a student. So why you're, but it happens, okay? I've been yelled at by some instructors before. Really, in my opinion, it's super inappropriate. There's very rarely a time and a place for screaming at your student or yelling at your student. So she's clearly worried about that. So I'm worried about that relationship between them, but I can only assume. And I just don't think she received the proper training, too. There's no way you could have received the proper training, at least not to the extent that she should have had if you're making mistakes like this. Like when I go with my students, I'm like, okay, if you're on the downwind for 3-2 and they tell you to do a right downwind entry, what does that look like? Okay, what about a right base? What about a left base? What about a left 360? And I go through all these scenarios with them so that way when something out of pocket does happen, which is very possible, especially in a Delta airspace, you're not so caught off guard. All right, so I feel for this student. I don't think that she received the proper training, and I also don't think she handled the situation pretty well. I also am not a big fan of ATC getting super frustrated super quickly. I think that kind of threw the student off too. So there's just a bunch of variables at play, but you notice, how these mistakes and these errors start to line up with each other, all right? And then they create eventually an accident or an incident or something like that, okay? So ask for help, guys. Everything's going to be okay. All right, I hope you guys liked the video. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.